Hello and welcome back to Student Hub Live. Well, this is our virtual FASS Freshers Week, and we've been having a really wonderful time. I hope you've enjoyed that first session. There's certainly been lots of chat and questions. So let's hop over to Damon and see how everybody is at home and what's going on.
Yeah, everyone is really excited, chomping at the bit to get in. There's quite a few people who are doubling up this year, so they're studying maybe A111 and A112 together. We've also got some people who are coming in at level 2 and level 3, and they're a bit concerned about the stuff that they might have missed. So, is there anything that they need to know, and how they go about that, rather than sort of hitting the ground and not being able to run, as it were.
Absolutely. No, those are really good questions. The OU has a really nice little a BOC, a badged open course. We have all these sort of acronyms, which people get the hang of in no time at all, but can be a bit confusing at the start. So I think my advice would be for those students who are transferring, the key things to really learn to navigate are the institution itself. You know, how do we submit things? How do you work with your tutor? We've got some workshops on Saturday, the 3rd of October, the day of module start, that you may want to come along to, and which will take you through the virtual learning environment and show you around and show you tips and tricks that you might like to use and talk about how to make the most of your tutor, etc. But the one thing I would say is that your tutor is the key source of support. And I'm sure, Damon, you'd agree with that as a tutor yourself. Very often, you know, there's no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't know something, and why should you? It's always best to ask, because there's a very simple way around that. And not only that, but there's the student support team, isn't there, Damon?
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, your main relationship will be with your tutor, who is your main contact, and they'll be marking your work. But the student support team are there at the end of the phone and at the end of the email. And if you've got any questions, any problems, contact them. Or contact your tutor if it's to do with your studies. Anything else, contact the student support team, and they will do their very best to help you out. The worst thing that you
Yeah.
can do is not talk to the university, and try and deal with things yourself. Things can go wrong quite quickly, and we are here to help. We are here to see you through your studies and see you graduate.
There are thousands of students who study and have studied successfully with the Open University. And trust me, we've heard all sorts of things going on. And one thing that is so amazing, and one thing that actually employers really value, is the motivation that students have in terms of, you know, juggling many work commitments, etc., whilst also completing a qualification. So as Damon says, the student support team, they'll help you with things like time management. If, for example, something temporarily goes wrong, you need an extension, etc., they're really supportive, and they can often work around the best solution for you. We've also got a wonderful library team, a careers team. There's the OU Computing Help Desk. So there's so much support and information there that you can access. But today we're really focusing on FASS. But on the 28th of September, we have a generic event. So if you're a new student, please come along to that, because again, we'll be showing you all of the things that you need to know, and to be introducing you to some of those central sources of support. So let's go to Billy now and see what it's really like being a student. Welcome, Billy. We've all had that brief video introduction, but I wonder if you could tell us what you're studying and also how it's all going.
At present, on my last module. I'm doing DE 300. I start on the 3rd of October. So that's my second level 3 in psychology. So hopefully I should graduate next year. Fingers crossed. If all
Brilliant.
goes well this year, I should graduate next year.
Brilliant. And where are you, Billy, in the UK right now?
I'm just outside Edinburgh in a place called Bathgate in Scotland.
Brilliant. We've been asking everybody at home where they are as well. And our map looks so wonderful. I wonder if we might just take a little look and see. We've got lots of people in Europe and Africa and the Middle East and Australasia, but a lot in the UK as well. So it's wonderful to see so many students there. And in particular, so many international students. We have a wonderful international student community. And of course, the best thing about the OU is being able to hook up online and meet people from all over the globe. It's just important to get your timings right. So, Billy, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about FASS then in terms of your relationship? I mean, often, you're studying something in a faculty because you're interested in a subject, but you've had quite a complex and multiple relationship with the faculty. So what does the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences mean to you, and how have you been involved?
Yeah, as I say, I'm a psychology student, but when I started, I originally was doing social sciences and got totally hooked on psychology. During that time, I got involved with the Student Association, and 2 years ago, I had been elected as faculty rep. So that gave me a chance to work with a wider scope of the faculty. But for me, the faculty is absolutely amazing. I love FASS. If anybody who knows me, I always promote FASS out there because it's the students in FASS are really keen. They get involved in things. As faculty rep, I had over 60 students on campus over my 2 years because the faculty gives the students a chance to get their voice out there, and the staff are always keen to hear from students. So, for example, we have what we call faculty assembly, which meant I could bring 5 visitors plus my 3 reps to faculty assembly. So they met the staff, they were involved, and not so much the decision-making part of that, but knew exactly what was happening within the faculty and how the faculty was working to support students. I've also been involved in student consultations. We do these regular online, so you can actually sign up to be part of the consultation groups. And when we go back to face, we have our yearly consultations, which happens all across the nations, where students can actually come and meet reps and meet staff with OU and discuss some of the big issues that's happening round about at the time.
There's also other ways that students can get involved with things that maybe slightly lighter touch, like forums and filling in surveys and things, aren't there? What are some of the other
Yeah.
ways that you've been involved in, and what benefit did it give you as a student in terms of contributing your opinions?
I think one of the big issues for students is because we're all distance students, we're not actually on campus, they do wonder how much the university actually takes on board what we're saying. I've led and I've been part of these forums that appear regular within the faculties, and you do see that your voice is actually listened to and what your concerns are actually addressed. So being part, if you get an invite to attend the forum, they're always fantastic to attend. There's always really interesting topics, and you get the chance to express how you feel about certain issues. Yeah, the forums for me was always a good chance, to meet other students. Although it's online, but you still get to meet other students. Find out what other students, what their thoughts are on issues and how they address the challenges of being a distant learner. Because a distant learner is totally different from being on campus. I found it really interesting before looking at the word cloud with students' worries. And every one of those I mean, I've now been with Open University 6 years. So 6 years ago, I can remember sitting in the exact same spot, worrying about loneliness, worrying about time, worrying about TMAs. So the forums are a really good chance to get the student voice really deep into the faculty. So if you get the chance, then it's definitely worth doing them.
And Billy, a lot of students are talking about various other ways of supporting other students, things like WhatsApp groups and social media, etc. Have you been involved in those? And what was your experience? I've heard they're a bit Marmite.
Yes, my advice to students from day one is very simple. What's on Facebook isn't always true. Because I've seen so many students get so upset over things that's on Facebook, especially about if some students are working ahead of schedule. Some students maybe like to get ahead because of life commitments, family commitments, and this that causes a lot of upset to students. Plus, I always try to say to students that the best place to ask questions is actually in your forum, your module forum, because that way the tutors are there, and that way you know the information you're getting is correct. Because it's not the first time I've on Facebook or into a WhatsApp group and asked a question and got 12 different answers. So I end up more confused than what I did at the start. So I always say to the students, your forum's there, it's not instant, so the tutor won't be sitting at the other end of the computer ready to reply straight away. But usually, in my experience, within a few hours, 24 hours maximum, you get a reply. And then you know that reply is correct. You know that the information you're getting then can help you go forward. But for being online for things like Facebook, as a student association, we have over 60 clubs on Facebook, and we also have our societies. And we've got thousands and thousands of students involved in all these clubs and things. So for the social side of Open University, it's fantastic. For the academic side, we always advise students to stick to the forum, contact your tutors, because that way you're guaranteed the information you're receiving is the right information.
Absolutely. So it's really important, I guess, to seek clarity on the things that are important and module related from those sources like your tutor, and they're often cluster forums, etc. And we'll be going through all of that on the 28th of September anyway, if any of this is worrying or confusing anybody at home who's brand new to the OU. But the WhatsApp groups can be a really good source of support, but everybody is different. Everybody studies in a different way at the Open University, and it's really important to bear in mind your time, your pressures, etc. And also to remember that this is your journey. And you're doing it for yourself. You are competing with yourself, not necessarily everybody else. It's your degree with your aims in mind. And Billy, you were a faculty associate representative, and I know that there's a vacancy now because these are sort of, positions that are valid for a certain period of time. And there's an election coming up for that. Do you want to tell us very briefly about that before you just end with some tips for the students?
Yeah, the Student Association has a central executive committee which is elected every 2 years. The election actually happened a few months ago, but the post for the FASS rep wasn't taken up. So yes, we have round about, I think it's the start of October, we'll be opening the election process where any student can stand for election, and we are looking for a FASS faculty rep to take over the job that I did. I'm looking to go for another position. So any student, if they go to the OU Students Association website, after like the 1st of October, they should start to find information about the election coming up. But as faculty rep, you work with all the wonderful staff in the faculty, and you're the voice of students. So yeah, you have to work with the students, take their views forward, and then represent them across all of FASS.
Brilliant. Not only is it a great way to meet a lot of the team at the Open University, but it can be really, really good work experience. I know people who've, used roles like that to showcase lots and lots of different skills. So it can also be very helpful for that. Now, Billy, we've sort of mentioned some things, and we've got 1 minute left. So I wonder if you could, in a nutshell, give us some of your top tips and things that have worked for you, particularly bearing in mind there are lots of new students here, maybe even not at level 1. So what would your advice be?
My advice is, time management's important, but then not to fret over time management, because I always seem to get there in the end. As you said earlier, it is your journey. We all start on the same day, we all finish on the same day. How we get from point A to B is different for every single person. So please don't judge yourself to what stage other students are at. And ask for help. That's what your tutor's there for. The staff are there to help you. I made the big mistake on my very first access module thinking I could do it all myself. And it turned out that I ended up, once I sat and spoke to my tutor, it took so much of the worry away. So the tutor's there, you've got your student support team there as well. And yes, utilise that. As I say, the staff are really keen to make sure that you get the best experience, and obviously move on through the levels. Because when I started Access, I never thought I would ever get near the end of a degree. And as I say, I've got 8-10 months left, and then hopefully I should get my degree. So yeah, they say time is everything. But again, everybody's time management will be different depending on your personal circumstances.
Absolutely. And some people need to get ahead for various reasons. Maybe they have something coming up, some commitments, etc. And other people don't. So again, I think that's really sound advice, Billy. It's about your own journey and about not competing with other people and really trying to manage your time and seeking help if and when you need it. Not only from other students, but as you say, also from your tutor. Well, thank you so much, Billy, for joining us and for sharing your views. And you've done a wonderful job in that role. So if you're interested in seeing more about that and seeing what the opportunities are, do check out the Open University Students Association website, as Billy says, and information will be up there shortly about that role. We really, really do value working with students, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that in our next session. But before we do, we're going to show you another FASS 50 Part 2, and then we're going to have one of our Who's videos, who is Sally O'Reilly. So grab a coffee if you haven't already, enjoy these video breaks, and I'll see you back here very soon.